of course, this session is all about post-production. So I want to hear, what are some general editing tips and tricks in working within Premiere Pro? We saw your timeline, but there's a lot in there, right? Like working with keyframes and audio. Like in general, what are some of the general editing tips that you live and die by in Premiere? And I'll open it up to all of you guys.
Sure, I can start. I would say, especially with like a long form piece like this, I think knowing when to like really put the gas on the music, and then when to just like not have any. Like I in mic'd up, which is again what I edit during the week. It's like music through the whole thing. You know, it's only 4 minutes long or whatever it is. Keep people's attention, snappy. But then in like a longer form piece, you can have moments that really just die down and let, you know, the team meeting or something that's more, you know, you can just sit in a room, and like knowing when to do that was a really fun thing to like discover. Again, just because a lot of us just do faster paced things that always have music underneath them. And kind of knowing what sections of the music you want to emphasize something. That's always just being a music person. Like that is, I almost start there. I start like at the climax of the song and put the touchdown in there, and like I build back or I build after, whatever it is. But I'll start at like the peak and then work around it, make the intro longer, whatever it is. Yeah, no, that's kind of how I work. We're very different, but that was something that I love to do with the Voyage for sure.
Yeah, I would say I'm a little bit more organized in particular than the other members of the team. You know, I like to have the bins pretty put together, and you know, have my timelines pretty like laid out to like make sense. The way I usually do it, it's not a trick, it's not a function, it's not a shortcut, but I always do like a sequence that has all the footage I'm looking to use just laid out in chronological order. I start there. I always have that to go back to, and then I have another sequence of that, and I sort it. I do like the clips I want to use and the clips I don't really want to use, and then I take the clips I do want to use and start like actually putting them into a sequence to edit from, and then I shift it all the way down the timeline, and I pull and just start to like go one by one, you know, start to make a sequence that I want. That works for me. I could see how that wouldn't work for other people, and they just want to pull from the bin. But that gives me a good like visual cue of like, I know where it came from. I know like where in the game it fits, and can kind of go from there. And then other than that, I mean, I like to be very particular about frames. So it's like, you know, if I see an interview and I start to see, you know, I know we're cutting it at a word, but I see his mouth open before another word comes out, I'm always like on top of like, hey, we got to cover that up, or we got to cut it short. And, you know, it's just little things like that I notice, like, at least for me, do a lot.
Yeah, being ruthless with your edits and like the pauses and the, you know, it makes a difference, right? If somebody's, you know, like struggling over their words, like I might be, and have a weird, awkward pause, right? You want to tighten that up on the timeline. So that's awesome. Nate, did you have anything to add from your perspective?
Yeah, a couple quick, like on that topic. One thing I learned from, I don't know that he'd be on this, but Jodain Masad, I learned from, yeah, when I spent 2 years in Kansas City under him. He's now with NFL Films, so I think he knew what he was talking about. But one piece of advice that he helped me with is like, and a lot of people have said this over the years, like when you're interviewing people, you know everything that person says, but that doesn't mean you have to have them say everything that they say. Just because you know what they're saying, the viewer can still get that message in a much shorter, more concise form. And so his advice was like, if you're on the fence about anything, delete it and just move on, because you're gonna have plenty. He's like, trust me, you're always gonna have enough. And if it is a really good soundbite, you're gonna remember it, and you can come back to it because you remember it. So don't be afraid to just get rid of things in your timeline. It feels good. Once you allow yourself to do that, it helps. Two other quick things that helped us a ton. Avneet, our associate at the time, was actually the mastermind behind this, but we shot a lot of interviews over the course of the season, tons, more than we needed. But that's what you have to do, right? So she took all of the interviews that we conducted and sorted them by topic and threw them in sequences, kind of like Ryan was saying with his game footage. She did that with all of the interview sound bites. And so when we were like diving into this project, we weren't really starting from scratch. We were starting from a good base of, we have 10 players talking about this one thing. This is awesome. Like, we don't have to like search all this, like it's all right here. So that helped a ton. So if any of you are working on projects like this where interviews are a big part of it, can't recommend that enough. And even better, if you can be doing it while you're recording all these interviews during the season, you're going to be even better off than we were. And then throughout the edit process, just if you're editing as a group like we were, use that group. You can be working on your own sections, but I have Ryan and Alex look through my sections a lot because they're separated from it. They know what you're trying to they know what you're trying to convey. They know what point you're trying to get from and to. Have them take a look at it, because it's, again, they don't know everything that you remember from editing it. So just build in some checkpoints, build in spots that you can check yourself a little bit and trim some more of that fat, because there's always plenty.
That is amazing advice. I'm taking notes myself, especially on the one, clean up the timeline, delete it. I am a huge fan of the enable and disable clips, and I think part of that is because I'm an editing hoarder, right? If I like a couple clips, I might stack some different options, but sometimes, like you said, it's good to be organized with all of that. So love those editing tips there. I know we are coming up almost at the hour mark, but you mentioned, Nate, something about approval process and, allowing other folks to kind of review. And of course, creatives now, especially with an organization like yours, you're not working in a silo. You're not working just on your own. Do you guys have a particular, like a specific review and approval process? And what does that normally look like?
Yeah. With our organization, we are in a lucky spot in a lot of ways. But one of the ways is we have ownership that supports these type of projects. They see the benefits that can provide. We have a coach and general manager that also understand those benefits and aren't gonna like stand in the way. I guess there's probably a better way to say that, but I think you guys know what I mean. And then our PR team, our communications team, is very, very helpful, and also like are very into like us doing this kind of content. Like, they're fans of it too. So what happens a lot of times is these projects, we do have to have the final episodes approved. And so we do send these to basically our entire PR team, a few folks on like our bosses to make sure they're in the loop on things. And then also like the head coach and general manager, just to give them visibility. Now, it's pretty rare that, they're going to come back with some feedback. But our PR team is on top of things, even as busy as they can be in the season. They're always willing to watch through it. And what we used this year to help that process was like Frame.io with Adobe. It was the first time we had used that, and it was great, very smooth, and it was probably the most important part is it was easy for people outside of our group to use. They could watch it very easily. They could make, comments right at the right time codes that edits would need to be made, or if they're concerned about a part, they just start typing and it's there, shows up in our project. For any of you not in the loop on some of those benefits of Frame.io, I'd definitely check it out. It was very helpful for us this year, and hopefully looking forward to using it again this year for that process.
That's awesome, and it's super exciting to hear, because I know sometimes the approval process as a creative, and this is me talking, can feel nerve-wracking. But to know that all of you are together and using it as an organization, and it's super easy for the non-creative folks within your team, and you get that feedback right, frame accurate. That is super, super exciting. Jonathan just dropped a link in the chat for those who, as Nate said, aren't on it. It is a game changer. The review panel, just a little plug, is in Premiere Pro and After Effects, so you can upload your content straight to Frame, and it gets sent to the cloud. It's really, really useful. I know we're approaching our marker at the end of the hour, but one of the questions that we got from the chat is, how did the Vikings organization view the benefits to having these documentaries? And is there, profit? Is it to gain fans? Is it just for team building? And we spoke ahead of the webinar, and you guys had something really special happen with episode 1. So what's the answer to that question in the chat, and what was that special event that happened?
Sure, I'll get started if I could, and then I'll start showing the photos. So then Ryan, you can take it, because I'm not good at multitasking. But we had a partner, Trade Home Shoes, as a sponsor of the series. It's pretty easy to figure out some of the benefits of having a content series sponsored. So they were a part of it, and we were able to engage with our season ticket members, which was an organizational initiative for this season, starting last spring. So Ryan, I'll let you take it from here, and I'll pull up some of those photos.
Yeah, so I think the benefit is, to try to be best in class at something. We have this big entertainment department that we try to be best in class at game presentation and, our social media and kind of our email outreach. So this was just another extension of, we're already doing this. Like, we want to be as good as we possibly can be. And then this was kind of the culmination of that. We had multiple departments working to put on this presentation and showing. It was incredibly unique. You don't usually get to show off your content. We're not in Hollywood. We don't have film premieres where we get to sit in the front row and, hear the oohs and ahs, but this was as close as we'll get to that. We got to hear laughs, and we got to hear, gasps and clapping like that.
Mm.
You don't know that people are doing that to your content. So to hear it is really cool. And it's nice because usually the only response we get are social media comments, and you have to wade through all the, this team isn't any good, to get to a little bit of a heart emoji, so to hear people actually say that, they enjoyed it and they appreciated it and being curious about it. It was really cool. We had a range of comments. There were people that were just novice, did not know anything about production, but wanted to know, what happened and, how we operate on a basic level. And then there was somebody that was asking what kind of color treatment we do and if we use LUTs, and, it was going way more into the weeds than we ever expected. We were kind of taken aback, but it was cool to have that personal interaction and, kind of get to see how it can impact people on a granular level. And it was also cool to have them have a little bit of a meta aspect of being in the team meeting room as they watch Justin Jefferson have the team meeting before Green Bay. So it was cool all around. I think they really enjoyed it, and we certainly got a lot from it.
That's so cool. So it was a literal premiere of episode 1. That is awesome. I see Brent in the chat says, nice set. That is so cool. And I think, it almost answers the question, right? It's fan engagement. It's, getting more eyeballs on the team and the Minnesota Vikings organization. I think that is amazing. And, you mentioned one of the things being, in social media, there's commentary left and right, but I do want to call out on the YouTube channel, there's an awesome comment at the top, and I'm going to read it out because it stood out to me. But somebody said, I can't speak for all Vikings fans, but I just have to drop a note to say how much the Voyage series is appreciated and how awesome it is to see a glimpse of the inside. The production on these videos are incredible. This was a great season. Thank you for letting us relive this amazing season. Skull. Like, I think that is the answer to the question, and even beyond the premiere, right? You're allowing fans to come back to moments. Maybe it was their first game where they witnessed a really cool play. Maybe it was, their family's first experience going to a game, and you allow people to relive it. And I think that's the beauty of filmmaking, and the beauty of content creation is really driving emotion in people and allowing us to turn our creativity on. So that is amazing. We are at the hour mark, but we had so many questions that we couldn't get to. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you to Nate, Alex, Ryan, and all of the Minnesota Vikings organization, people behind the scenes that really make this come to life. Definitely encourage you guys to check out all of the Voyage episodes. We just focused on season 1, but the Vikings organization does incredible content across the board. Thank you all for tuning in, and stay tuned for the recording. We will send that out, and have a great week, y'all. Take care.